Okay class, this is exam practice 1, paper 1H, non-calculator. So going through these types of papers is really going to help you with your revision and consolidate the skills that you have. So question 1A. Doing this in standard form, but it's asking for an ordinary number. So if we have 5.7, I'm just going to add loads of zeros here, and it's times 10 to the power of 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Decimal point goes here. That's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 5.7 million. Now, this has to be a number between 1 and 10. Now it's smaller, so that's going to be 10 to the minus 3, because you can see 4 divided by 10 will be 0.4, divided by 1 more 10 will be 0.04, and 1 more 10 will be so forth. Because you can see like that, or go back the other way. That's how we do that. Next question. Question 2, we know we minus the powers or subtract the powers, so that's just going to be e to the power of 4. Now this question is in brackets, so we multiply the powers. That's y to the 16. Just expand this however way you like. You get 1 step for 1 mark for doing this. You can see that's the x squared, that's the minus 2x, that's the plus 9x, and the minus 18. Simplify that. And that's done. Factorise fully, so we take the highest common factor out of both of these numbers, so that's got to be 4. We can take a c out of both, and the p squared out of both, so then that was going to be 4c cubed plus 5p. Okay, let's go on to question 3. It is a quadratic on non-calculator. So, because the highest power here is squared, so we just substitute, do that any way you want. So when x equals 1, I always start with the positive numbers. We're going to get 1 squared minus 3 times 1, which is 3 minus 1. So it's going to be 1 minus 3 minus 1. That's going to be minus 3. Let's let x equals 3 here. So we can get 3 squared minus 9 minus 1. That's going to give us minus 1. Now you can see the symmetry here is at this point here. Because you can see the minus 1 correlates with this minus 1. And I can see that this is actually going to be 3 here, but do substitute just in case. So minus 1 squared, let's write this here, when x equals minus 1. Minus 1 squared is 1, minus 3 times minus 1, so that's a minus and a minus, so you're going to get plus 3 minus 1. So it does equal 3, and minus 2. So I'm going to do this fully here, because what happens is students make mistakes with the negatives. So I'm going to show you, you're going to get minus 3 times minus 2 minus 1. That's going to give us 4. Minus times a minus is going to give us a plus 6, then minus 1. So we're going to get 9. And I'm going to zoom out so we can plot those points. So I would plot all the points 0, minus 1. You do get marks for plotting. 1 minus 3. I think 2 was minus 3 and 3 was minus 1. Ooh, I'm going a bit gauzy-eyed here. So that's here and that's here. Do be careful. 3 was minus 1 and 4 was 3. Minus 1 is 3 and minus 2 was 9. Okay, this is important. This, because a quadratic is U-shaped, you should have a little dip here. Don't do a straight line, that's the most common error. And make sure this is curved, but do a better line than me. And that will get you the full marks. It does look symmetrical, and that will get you your full marks. Okay, so what's happened here? Something wrong with the formatting, but I believe that is a divide symbol here. So change this to a improper fraction. So 4 times 3 is 12, add the 2. That becomes 14 over 3 divided by 10 over 9. I know it says show that, so just do this. Do your keep, change, flip, KCF. That's 14 over 3 times 9 over 10. 9 times 14, that's 90, add 36, that's 126 over 30. I'll simplify this as much as you can here. So let's just half that first. Let's get 63 over 15. Now, 6 add 3 equals 9 and 1 add 5 equals 6. So these numbers are divisible by 3. That's 21 over 5. And then you can see that equals 4 and 1/5. That's all you need to do for these questions, or this type of question, which just show that. Don't get confused, just work it out and you've shown it. Right. In group C there are 6 girls and 8 boys, so this is group C. Group D, 3 girls and 7 boys. We should get full marks on these type of trees. Complete the tree diagram. So that's out of 14 people, 6 and 8. So picking a girl from group C would be 6 out of 14. And then the boy would be 8 out of 14. That's probably going to get you 1 mark there. Group D, 3 girls and 7 boys. That's 3 out of 10. There's 10 people in total, so that's got to be 7 out of 10. Remember, each stage of this branch here, each section's got to equal 1. That equals 1. That's going to be the same, 3 out of 10. And the boy is 7 out of 10. That's an easy 2 marks in your pocket. Work out the probability that there are 2 boys in a team. So when you're doing a tree, it's independent event. So we multiply 8 over 14 times 7 over 10. That's 56 over 140. That should get you the full marks because I didn't ask you to simplify it, but I like to do this out of habit. 28 out of 70. Then 14 out of 35, and that's both divisible by 7, so the final answer is going to be 2 over 5. So that should be a comfortable 4 marks in your pocket. Question 6, a perpendicular bisector. So when you get a question like this, you should set your compass to over halfway from this point, and you'll get a mark. And when you set your compass over halfway, I believe you'll get a arc here. Do it the same on the other side. You'll get another arc from D. It'll be like that essentially, and then you'll draw a straight line through your arc, and that will give you a perpendicular bisector. You get a mark for these construction arcs. And that's how you do that. But wait there, I'm gonna put in a video of how to do that. If you actually just use Maths Watch, you could probably Google perpendicular bisector and you'll see a YouTube video of how to do that. That should be an easy 2 marks. That's the easiest construction question you can actually get. Question 7, this is sets, and this means this is elements. So all these numbers are in this group, and A, the set A is here, has these numbers, and set B has those numbers. So explain why A intersections, that means why A and B has no elements. A, that means and, well, they don't share the same number. So that's what you need to write, because none of the numbers are the same, so no number is in both of them. So writing no members that are in set A and B, or there's no numbers in common in A and B, that should make sense because they've got no numbers that are the same. If they did, then A in set B would have an element. So this means X is the element of all these numbers here, but X is not, that means X does not have the numbers, does not have numbers A or B in them, in its set. So, let's see what's A. A's got 2, 3, 5, 7. B's got 4, 6, 8 and 10. X doesn't have anything that is A or B. So the only numbers that are not in A or B you should be able to see is 1 and 9. And that's how you do question 7. Now, let's look at this question. Because I've formatted this to a PDF, this has not come out. So I've just corrected what should be here. So this means A or B or C equals this element E, which was the numbers 1 to 10 from above. Now this says A and C has 2, and this means B and, this dash here means not C, has 4, 6 and 10. So B and not C is 4, 6 and 10. So what we could do first is, as a Venn diagram, let's just work out this one. So A and C would be 2. So we could put a 2 here. Right, B and not C has 4, 6 and 10. Right. So B and not C is 4, 6 and 10. So 4, 6 and 10 has to just be in B. Now, A is 2, 3, 5 and 7 from above. So that's, we've got the 2, 3, 5 and 7. Now what was B? 4, 6, 8 and 10. 4, 6, 8 and 10. So we know 8 will be crossing the B and C here. And 1 and 9 from before was not, if we look here, was not in A or B, so C on its own is 1 and 9. So list all the members of set C. Now set C has all these conditions. Now set C, can you see what is in C? That's 1, 2, 8 and 9. Alright, this question, you've got a diagram, has a right angle triangle and a semicircle. We have this key bit of information and work out the area of the shape, give your answer correct to one decimal place. Oh, geez, you might have to multiply some decimals here. Right, so step 1, let's earn some method marks. Let's find the area of this triangle. Now the height is 6 and the width is 6 because it's right angled. So imagine this triangle looking like this. Don't get confused by its orientation. So step 1 would be to do 6 times 6 divided by 2 to get 18. That's the triangle. Now that semicircle, well, we could use Pythagoras to find out this length. So we're going to get 6 squared add 6 squared using a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we're finding the longest side. That's 30, so that's 72 equals c squared, and we're going to square root that. So square root of 72 equals c. So that must be the diameter. Can we simplify this as a third? Biggest squared number that goes into this is 36. That's the square root of 36 times the square root of 2. So that's going to be 6 root 2. We know the area of a circle is pi r squared, but it's half a circle, so we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, so would I keep that as a third? I'm sure this is normally a calculator question, but let's see what happens. So the radius is going to be half of this, so that r is actually 3 root 2, because that's the diameter. So if we square that, yeah, that's why we can do this. If we square this, so r squared is going to equal 3 root 2 squared. So that's essentially this. So that's going to equal 9 times 2, which is 18. So we're going to get 18 pi divided by 2, so that's going to give us 9 pi. Now we should all know what pi is, equals 3.14. We can do 9 times 3.14. So 9 times 4 is 36, carry the 3, 9 times 1 is 9, 12, 2, carry the 1, 9 times 3, 27, 28. So we're going to get 28.26, add the 18 from before, that's going to be 46.26. So to 1 decimal point, that's going to be 46.3 centimetres squared. So that is all doable. So this is a non-calculator question, but using your surd skills, so you can work it out. Okay. 9. Draw a histogram of this information. Okay, so what do you need to know about histograms is the formula. So frequency density, if this was a triangle, excuse my triangle, because we've got frequency and the class width, let's say CW here, so that width is 20, so FD here equals the frequency, which is 15 divided by 20. We know that's 3/4, so that's 0.75. Now we're going to get 48 divided by 15 here, which equals, let's simplify that so we can actually work that out. That's divisible by 3, so that's 16 over 5. And if you can see, that's going to be 3 1/5. And you should know that's 3.2. If you can't do that, do bus stop. 5 into 16 is 3. Remainder 1, so that's a 3.2. I'm going to do this over here for space. So we've got 21 over 15 now, which you should be able to see is 1 6 over 15. Oh, mistake. That's actually a difference of 5. So do be careful when you do that. That width is 5. For some reason I saw that as a different number. So you can see that's 4 1/5. So you should know that's 4.2. And last one is 16 over 10. This one's 16 over 10. Which is 1.6, and that's going to earn you some method marks. So from 0 to 20 we want 0.75. So that's here. Do use a ruler. Now from 20 to 35 it is 3.2. It's 35 to 40 is 4.2. And all histogram exam questions just applying these skills. And the last one, 40 to 50, is 1.6. Right, do count the squares in the exam. Because you're tired, you can get a bit gozzy-eyed sometimes. And that's that histogram done. Nice. Question 10. Factorising this. Choose your preferred method of factorising. Maths is the most usual method. So I do 2 times 6 is 12. Factors of 12 to get -7. Which has got to be 3 and 4. Those are both minus. So how I do this is I start with writing out this. I've multiplied by 2, so I'm just going to divide this whole bracket by 2. Just So this is the full factorisation. Do the method that you're familiar with. This is just how I do it, and that I don't want to confuse you. Just do what works for you, but make sure you can do factorising with a coefficient. Oh, we have to solve this. So I'd multiply by 3 on both sides. So we will get left with 4m plus 9. Remember, you have to multiply the whole side by 3. So that would be 21 minus 6m. Normally we get rid of the smallest amount of m's, which this is, the smallest amount is minus 6m. So I'd plus 6m on both sides. So then we get 10m plus 9 equals 21. I'm going to minus the 9, so 10m equals 12. So remember, so minus the 9 here. So m equals 12 divided by 10. So m is 1.2. Right, this is a thinking type question, right? So hopefully you know if something's a cubic root, so if that was a cubic root, that's the same as y to the power of a third. When it's a square root, that's y to the power of a half. So a quartic root is the same as y to the quarter. So if you can see this, this is going to be y to the quarter divided by y. Now if we subtract powers when you divide, that's going to be y to the minus 3 over 4, because you minus powers, and that's minus 1. So in the form yb, well, that should be the answer, right? That is the answer. Right, question 11 is another like Venn diagram sets type question, and I hope this will make sense to you. So all you need to do here is, this is all the integers less than 20, so all the whole numbers, and a is essentially, what this means is less than 12, so these are all the numbers in a, and b is between 7 and 16 but doesn't include 16, so these are all the numbers. So list the members of a intersecting b. Well, what's in a and b together? So those will be the numbers 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, and that will get you your full marks. Question 12. It's a probability. It's a bias, so it's not fair. You can see the percentages or probability of getting each number is different, and an estimate for the number of times that the dice will land on an even number. So essentially what we've got to work out is, what is x? So you can see we've got 2x, add 2x, add 3x, add x. So that's 7. So we've got 8x has to equal what's left over. Well, we've got 0.18, add 0.26, that's 0.44. So 1 minus 0.44 equals 0.56. So that's 0.56. So x must be 0.07. Be careful here. So a probability of 1 is a 0.14. 3 is 0.14. 4 is 0.21, and that's 0.07 or 7%. Right, but we only want the even numbers, so we've got even equals 0.18, add 0.21, add 0.07, so 9, that's 6, carry on 1, that's 0.46, and we just need to multiply that by 200. This is all you're working out, times 200. Well, if you times it by 100, it's 46. So 46 times 2 is 92. Well, that's a quite easy full marker. So you could easily get full marks on that. Question 13, make x a subject. The opposite of square root is squared. So we want to make x a subject. This might be a lot of work to it, but let's see. So we're going to get first y squared equals 3x minus 2 over x plus 1. We want to multiply out by x plus 1 on both sides. Let's get rid of the x plus 1. So we're going to get x plus 1 with the y squared equals 3x minus 2. We want to expand this out, so that's going to give us xy squared plus y squared equals 3x minus 2. Now remember, when we have x's on both sides, we want to get all the x's together so we can factorise it out. So I'm going to show you this step. We're going to minus 3x minus 3x, so we're going to get xy squared minus 3x plus y squared equals minus 2 now. We're going to minus the y squared on both sides. Hope you can see that's minus y squared. So what we get left with up here is xy squared minus 3x is going to equal minus y squared minus 2. Now apologies with the layout, but I am writing this like this so that this is viewable on your mobile phones really easily. So we're going to factorise x out here. That's how we're going to get x on its own. So let's get x out. That's going to be xy squared minus 3 equals minus y squared minus 2. I'm going to now divide out by that bracket on both sides. So you can get x equals minus y squared minus 2 divided by y squared minus 3, and that's perfectly acceptable, and that will get you your full marks. Sometimes they don't like the negatives on the top, so if you times top and bottom by minus 1, it's still going to be the same equivalent fraction, and that will turn this to x equals y squared plus 2 and 3 minus y squared, but both acceptable. Okay, question 14 now, bounds. We should be very good at bounds now. They should be banker marks. So c equals b minus a. 6 is correct to the nearest whole number. B is correct to the nearest 5. So the nearest integer is 1. So to the bound is going to be 1 divided by 2. So we can get plus or minus 0.5. Okay. So the upper bound of a means it's going to be 6.5. That's a upper bound. The a lower bound is going to be 5.5. Now you should just do this to earn your method marks. B is the nearest 5, so 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So the upper bound of B is going to be 7.5. The lower bound of B is going to be 7.5. 2.5 add 15 is 17.5, and the lower bound is going to be 12.5. Work out the upper bound for the value of C. So C upper bound, we want the biggest number for C, so it's got to be B upper bound minus, should do little b, lowercase b, A lower bound. So B upper bound is, that's going to be 17.5 minus A lower bound 5.5. So C equals 12. And that is showing you're working as clear as day. And that will get you your method marks and answer mark. Oh, 15. Love these questions. Use algebra. So if it says prove or show that, always use algebra. So we've got x. This should be banker. So just let x equals 0.254. This means the 5-4 repeats. I like to do this out of habit, so I know what to do. So we want to multiply by something to make these numbers cancel, and we want the repeating decimals to repeat. So we've got to do 1000x here will equal 254.5454 dot. Now we see we cannot subtract this well, so we want to do 10x to equal 2.545454. You see this is all repeating, so this can all cancel out when we subtract them. So you're going to get 990x equals, remember to subtract this, 252. So x is going to be 252 over 990. If you simplify that down, that is going to be 14 over 55. Because you can divide that by 15 times 15 is 225. So you could probably divide that by, let's try to work that out. Yeah, it's going to be 18. But you should get that mark anyway for just doing that. But 2 add 5 add 2 is 9. So we know these are both divisible by 9. So if you just want to do this, if you're starting from here, just so you know how to do this, you could just half it first, so you get 126 over 495. I know this is divisible by 9, so it's going to go 9 into 126, that's 1, remainder 3, and that's 4, that's where we get the 14, and let's go 9 into 495, that's going to be 5, remainder 4, 5, and there we have it. But that should be enough, just showing up to there anyway, I think. And that's your easy 2 marks. Okay. We're doing well. Question 16. Surds. I love surds. They're really special numbers. So, to simplify this, we need to multiply by its conjugate pair. That's root 2 plus 1. That's root 2 plus 1. Okay. Show each stage you're working clearly. So, you're going to get some method marks here. Now, hopefully you know if you have A plus B times A minus B, this is what happens when you multiply by a conjugate pair. You're going to get A squared minus B squared, which makes this working out a bit easier and saves you some time. So let's just write this out. So we're doing root 2 plus 1. If you get the plus, don't have the plus 1 here, you're going to go wrong straight away. And remember, if this was a plus here, this would be a minus here. So knowing this fact here helps. So all we're going to get is root 2 times root 2 at the bottom, which is 2 minus 1 times a plus 1, which is minus 1. Okay, I'm going to multiply it out. So you're going to get 4 root 2 here, 4 root 2 plus the 4. Now we're lucky here, root 8 times root 2 is root 16, so we're going to get another 4 plus 4 plus root 8. I'm going to simplify that nicely here because this is getting in the way. So we're going to get 8 plus 4 root 2 plus root 8, that's all over 1. Right, so root 8, we can simplify root 8 to root 4 times root 2. So that's 2 root 2 here. So we're going to get 8 plus 4 root 2 plus 2 root 2. So the final answer is 8 plus 6 root 2. And you can see the clue here. You want to simplify in terms of root 2 because that gives you a clue to the answer of what they're looking for, and that's a nice easy 3 marks. Now if you just want to be professional, just say A equals 8 and B equals 6, but this will get you the full marks. Okay, 17, that's a graph of sine x, goes between 1 and minus 1, perfect. On the grid, draw the graph 2 sine x plus 30. So remember, when it's inside the bracket, we do the inverse, so we have to minus 30 here. And then when it's on the outside, so the inside affects the x, the outside affects the y. Inside impacts the x, outside changes the y. This is how I remember it. So that means y is going to be multiplied by 2. So let's just start this off. Now how am I going to explain this? So everything is going to be shifted by 30. So that's going to be 150 here, right? So this point is going to shift here. This point is going to shift here. This point will shift across here. But let's not worry about that. Now this point, because we know we have to multiply by 2 here, so this is not, and this is y is 0 here, so multiplying this by 2 is not going to do anything. But here, when y has got a value 1, you can see it's going to outside, because it's got to times that by 2, right? And the x's we're going to minus by 30. So this will stay here. This point will go to this point, but it's multiplied by 2, so 1 times 2. This will now come here. Right, so here, minus 30 will go here, but we've got to times it by 2, so that's going to strengthen there. So let's just do these x's, so you can see that point. And essentially you just should be able to draw that now. So imagine this point here, just to line it up. So that's going to be like that. And that will get you your 2 marks. Right, do revise graph transformations if you unsure. This is just a combined one, but if you know graph transformations, that's a easy 2 marker for you. Question B. Now this form is complete in the square. We should be very good at that. So we've got x, we minus 3. Let's squared because we halved this, remember? Or completing the square. Now, minus 3 squared is going to give us 9. So we've got a minus 9 on the outside. So that we know this part is going to equal this part. When we expand it, then we're going to plus the 10. So that simplified is just going to be x minus 3 squared plus 1. So where a equals 3 and b equals 1. They are both integers. Hence describe fully the single transformation that maps the curve equation y equals x squared onto this curve. Right. So remember what I said. Inside the bracket is the x, affects the x, affects the x. Outside is the y, outside is the y. But you have to solve, or make it 0, or solve, or equals 0. So outside, you know, it's going to go up the y-axis plus 1, because we've got a 1 on the outside from here. I'm just going to write this here. So the y is going to be going up plus 1. We solve this to make this 0. So x, it's got to be plus 3. So it's going to go to the right 3 and up 1. So it's going to be a translation by the vector 3, 1. That's how we write translations, by vectors, and it has to be written in that form. Question 18. Okay, question 18 is algebraic fractions. People always seem to get caught out by this, but when we have x squared minus 25, to factorise that, that's the difference of two squares. That's x plus 5 and x minus 5, right? So if we get this, you can quite easily see this will be the answer. Because 2x times 2x gives you the 4x squared. So that's that bottom half done. Now be careful, this top half says 6x cubed plus 13x squared minus 5x. Now you might be thinking, oh my god, what do I do here? But can you see each term has got x? So let's just take x out. So that means this will become 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. So if we just write this up to here, and we know it's simplifying an algebraic fraction, so we know inside this is going to be one of these. But let's just factorise this. Now do use your whatever method you prefer for factorising coefficients, but I've got 6 times minus 5 here, so we're going to get minus 30. We've got factors of 30 to get plus 13x, so we've got 3 and 10, which gives us 13, but I can't make that minus 30, so be careful here. It's going to be 15 and 2, where the 2 is going to be negative. So my way, alright, 6x plus 15, 6x minus 2. Now I know that doesn't make 6x squared. Remember here we've multiplied everything by 6, so I just need to divide everything in total by 6. So if I divide this bracket by 2 and this back bracket by 3, that gives us 2x plus 5, which is what we need, and 3x minus 1. Now if you expand that out, that does make what we need here. So that's perfect. So what we've got now is x, 2x plus 5, 3x minus 1 all over 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5. Do use MathsWatch for the MathsWatch method. You might find that easier for you. This is just how I do it because I find it easier. Now we know we can cancel this out, so the final answer is x, 3x minus 1 and 2x minus 5. Question 18 done. You can at least get some method marks on that, even if that throws you off. Question 19. Cool. A, B, C, D is the kite. Find the equation of line AC. Give your answer in the form py plus qx equals r, where p, q and r are integers. So you need to know your properties of a kite for this one. Now, this is going to likely look very confusing to you, but it's just applying your perpendicular line skills and some you're called geometry skills. But let me just draw a sketch here. If this was 1019, that's B, that's 1019. Imagine D is somewhere here. That coordinate's 2, 7. And we've got a point AC. It could be down here, we don't know. But I'm just going to draw this, and that's A, C. It has to be like this because AB equals AD to make that top end of the kite at a slant. There we go, that's our kite, and CD equals CB. Right. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what's happening. Now, you should know a kite is symmetrical, like so, and this is where the perpendicular gradient comes in, because we're going to get a perpendicular line here, which is going to help us find the equation of line AC. So step 1 is, this point here is going to be the midpoint, right? So we want the midpoint. Of DB. That's going to get us a method mark. So if you remember, x1 plus x2 over 2 divided by y1 plus y2 over 2. It's going to give us the midpoint. So we're going to get 10 plus 2 over 2 and 19 plus 7 over 2, which is going to give us 6 and 13. So this point here is 6 and 13. Okay, so we've got a point that's going to help us. I'm going to call that E. That's point E. Let's just call that E now, just so you can see what's happening. Now, if we can find the gradient of D and B, which is a change in Y over the change in X, that's 19 minus 7, which is 12, and X, the length of X is 10 minus 2 over 8. So what does that become? Divided by 4, top and bottom, that's 3 over 2, that's 1.5, right? So let's call that M for the gradient, or M1. Now remember perpendicular gradients, M1 times M2 has to equal minus 1. So M2 is the reciprocal, negative reciprocal of this, which has got to be minus 2 over 3. Okay, and that makes sense because the line AC's got to have a negative gradient. So AC, the line AC, is going to equal some type of Y equals MX plus C. We've got the M here, that's Y equals minus 2 over 3 X plus C. Now we don't have a coordinate for A or C, but we have got this point here which must lie on that line A to C. So let's substitute that in. 13 equals minus 2 times 6, that's minus 12 over 3, because that's the X coordinate, plus C. Now it's minus 12 over 3, That's minus 4, right? So C equals 17. So we get y equals minus 2 over 3x plus 17. Now that's the answer. Sometimes have they asked us to write it in a particular form? We've got to write it in the form py plus qx equals r. Py plus qx equals r. Where p, q and r are integers. Well, we're almost there, right? All we need to do is multiply everything out by 3 here, both sides by 3, but remember these are separate terms, so we're going to get 3y equals minus 2x. What's 3 times 17? 51 plus 51. Let's rearrange that by plussing 2x on both sides. So you can get 3y plus 2x equals 51, and that's going to be worth a mark there because they've asked for it. If you forgot to do that, you will lose a mark, I'm pretty sure. And that is a doable 5 marker, but you've got to recognise the properties of a kite. Question 20. Write 8a as a product of powers of its prime factors. Oh, this is an interesting problem solving type 1 with powers. Very interesting. So this question, this might throw a lot of you off, but let's just think. What's it asking? It's saying write 8a. So if a equals this, 8a is going to be 2n times 3 times 5n times 8, because we just multiplied both sides by 8. Now what is 8 as a power? Because we want to write it's a product of powers of its prime factors. So 8 as its prime factors is 2 times 2 times 2. So 8a equals 2n times 3 times 5n times 2 times 2 times 2. Now I'm doing this so you understand, right? So that's the same as 2 cubed. So let's just write this together. 2n times 2 cubed times 3 times 5n. I'm writing these next to each other because it's multiplication, so it doesn't really matter which order you write it, is all equals the same. So when the bases are the same, we know we can add the powers. So if we were to simplify this, this would literally just be 2n plus 3, right? Because if I have 2 to the 5, for example, times 2 to the 3, that's 2 to the 5 plus 3, which is 2 to the 8. Because we've got a letter here, now I'm going to change it. Let's say we have 2m times 2 to the 3. That's going to be 2m plus 3, just so you've got a bit of understanding. So we just can't simplify the rest. And that is your 2 out of 2 marks on a grade 9 question. And it's only grade 9 because it's test your understanding application. And I hope that makes perfect sense to you. Right, functions. f of x equals this, find f5. So that means we just swap 5 for the x. So f5 was going to equal 3 times 5 minus 2. That's 15 minus 2, so that's 13. That's your easy 1 mark there. Part B. I've just changed the function and express that as its inverse function. So normally when we do this, what I like to do is do the inverse. So let's just say we're making that y equals 2x squared minus 20x plus 9. So we want to make x the subject, and let's just put the y back in. Now, so how would I do this? Ooh, I think you need to complete the square with this. So what we're going to do is take the 2 out, then we're going to get x squared minus 10x plus 9 over 2, or 4.5. Then we can complete the square on the inside, so let's complete the square. If you remember this, complete the square with a coefficient, so that's going to give us x minus 5 squared. We've got to minus the 25 plus 9 over 2, which is 4.5. And wait up. Okay, I think that looks correct. So let's just simplify that. We're going to get 2 that's x minus 5 squared minus 25 plus 9 over 2, that's plus 4.5, so it's minus 20.5. So what we're going to get is 2x minus 5 squared minus, once we expand that out, minus 41 equals y. And we're going to make x the subject. So remember, we've got to make x the subject. So we're going to plus 41 on both sides. Just going to write a note here. I'm going to make x the subject for inverse x. Make x the subject, just so you can earn method marks. So you can do this. We're going to plus 41 on both sides, so we get y plus 41 equals squared. We know we have to divide by 2 now, so y plus 41 over 2. Remember, we've got to square root, so we're going to get the square root of y plus 41 over 2 equals x minus 5. Then we're going to plus the 5, so we're going to get 5 plus the square root of y plus 41 over 2 equals x. And you remember, we just write this, what we worked out just here, into this, and put the x back, so that's 5 plus the square root of x plus 41 over 2. And is this the last? And that's the last question. And hopefully that was doable for you guys. Do revise completing a square with a coefficient if you need to. These are all good skills, especially if you're doing A-level. This is going to really help you with A-level a lot. That is the question at the end, so not at the end of the day, if you cannot get that right, you can still get a grade 9 without getting that question correct.